Every linear programming problem you will ever meet hides its best answer in the same place. Not in the middle of the feasible region. At a corner. So here is a tempting plan. Just visit all the corners, score each one, and keep the winner. With 5 corners, that takes about 10 seconds. Now scale it up. 200 products, 200 limits, a small factory, really. The number of corners explodes to 10 to the 119. Check a billion of them every second, and you would still be counting long after the stars burn out. Brute force is dead on arrival. In 1947, George Dantzig found the way out. Don't search the corners. Walk them and let each step take you somewhere better. Keep this picture in your head for the whole lesson. A profit to push as high as possible, and a fenced region of plans you are allowed to choose from. The Simplex method starts at the laziest corner of all, do nothing. Make nothing, earn nothing. Profit 0. Then it looks only at the corners next door, picks one that raises the profit, and slides along the edge to get there. Every other corner in the region is simply ignored. From there, one more step. 30 becomes 36. Now look around from here. Both neighbors are wars. And that is the whole stopping rule. When no neighbor beats you, you are standing on the optimum. Everything that follows is just this walk, rewritten as arithmetic, so a computer can do it in 1,000 dimensions where nobody can draw a picture. Here are the 3 limits of our little factory. Machine time, material, labor, it doesn't matter what they are. What matters is that they are inequalities, and algebra hates inequalities. So we buy our way out. To each row we add one new non-negative variable that soaks up whatever is left over. Less than or equal to 4 becomes exactly 4. Once you count the unused part. These are the slack variables, and they are not just a trick. A slack of 0 means that limit is squeezing you. A slack of 2 means you have 2 units to spare. And now watch the gift they hand us. Set both real variables to 0. Instantly the 3 slacks read 4, 12 and 18, and the profit is 0. That is a legal corner of the region, the origin, and we got it without solving anything. 2 variables sit at 0, we call those non-basic. 3 carry the values, those are the bases. The work can begin. Everything from here lives in one table. Each row is one constraint equation. Each column is one variable. Nothing has been invented, these are the same numbers you just wrote down. Look at the 3 slack columns. Each one is a single one sitting above and below zeros. That pattern is what makes the starting corner readable at a glance. The left column names which variable owns each row, and the right column holds its current value. Read them across. S1 is 4, S2 is 12, S3 is 18. Only the bottom row is new. Take the objective, drag every term to the left, and you get z minus 3x1 minus 5x2 equals 0. So the bottom row stores the profit coefficients with their signs flipped, and its last entry is the profit itself. Right now, 0. This row is the compass of the whole method. Each entry answers one question: if I push this variable up by a single unit, what happens to the profit? Minus 5 under x2 means 1 more unit of x2 is worth 5 more rupees of profit. The minus sign is only there because we moved the terms across, which gives us the stopping rule, and it is beautifully blunt. A negative entry down there means there is still profit on the table. When every entry is 0 or positive, no variable can help you, and you are done. If you were minimizing instead, the test simply flips over, stop when no entry is positive. Same compass, mirrored. Two negatives are waiting, -3 and -5. Take the most negative, because it climbs fastest per unit. So x2 enters the basis. Its column is now the pivot column. But how far can x2 go? Watch the 3 slacks as we push it up. Each bar is the room still left in that constraint. The first constraint doesn't even contain x2, so its bar never moves. The other two shrink together, and the second one runs out first, at exactly 6. Push past 6 and that slack turns negative, which means breaking the constraint. So 6 is the wall. S2 hits 0, leaves the basis, and x2 takes its place. In the table, that whole story is 3 divisions. Right-hand side over pivot column entry, 1 row at a time. Smallest answer wins, and that row leaves. One caution. Only positive entries in the pivot column get a ratio at all. A 0 or a -1 puts no ceiling on the entering variable, so it simply doesn't compete. Column chosen, row chosen. Where they cross sits the pivot element, here, a 2. The rest is pure Gauss-Jordan, the same elimination you already know. Step 1. Divide the pivot row by 2, so the pivot itself becomes a clean 1. That row now belongs to x2. Step 2. Knock out every other entry in that column. Subtract twice the new row from the third row, and add 5 times it to the bottom row. And there is the new table. x2 has replaced s2 in the basis, and its column is now the clean 1 and zeros pattern the slack used to have. Read it off. x2 equals 6, s1 is still 4, s3 has dropped to 6, and the profit in the corner has jumped from 0 to 30. Geometrically, all that arithmetic did one thing, it slid us up the vertical edge, from the origin to the corner at 0 and 6. One pivot, one step of the walk. Same test, same table. One negative is left in the bottom row, a -3 under x1. Still profit to be had, so we go again. Ratios again, 4 from the top row, nothing from the middle one because its entry is 0, and 2 from the bottom constraint. 2 is smallest, so S3 leaves, and the pivot element is 3. Divide that row by 3, clear the column above and below, and the table settles into its final shape. And now the signal we've been waiting for. Every entry along the bottom is 0 or positive. Nothing left to gain. The walk is over. 2 pivots, 2 edges, and we have landed on the corner at 2 and 6, exactly where a drawing would have put it, except this time no drawing was needed. The answer is sitting in plain sight. Match each base's name to its right-hand side, x1 is 2, x2 is 6, and the profit is 36. The slacks are just as useful. S1 is 2, so that first resource still has room to spare. The other two are 0, those constraints are pressed flat against the solution. They are your bottlenecks. And then there is a bonus you didn't pay for. The bottom row entries under the slack columns are the shadow prices of the constraints 0, 3 halves, and 1. Read that as a price tag. 1 extra unit of the third resource would buy you 1 more rupee of profit. The first resource is worth nothing extra because you aren't even using all of what you have. That is the difference between a solver and a table. One gives you an answer. This gives you an answer, a diagnosis, and a shopping list. First warning. Suppose the entering column has no positive entry anywhere. Then no row can stop the variable growing, the ratio test has nothing to choose, and the objective runs away to infinity. Your model is missing a constraint. Second, when two ratios tie, one of the variables that stays in the basis ends up at 0. Geometrically, more fences pass through that corner than the dimension needs. We call it degenerate. Usually it costs you nothing but a wasted pivot. In rare engineered cases, the method can cycle between bases of equal value forever. The cure is a tie-break rule. Always take the lowest numbered eligible variable and termination is guaranteed. Third, if the method stops but some variable outside the basis has a reduced cost of exactly 0, you can bring it in for free. Two different corners share the same profit, and so does the whole edge between them. Multiple optima, which in practice is good news, because you get to choose on some other ground. Pause here if you want to try one yourself. 2 variables, 2 limits. Add the slacks, build the table, and pivot until the bottom row goes non-negative. Here is the start. -5 is the most negative, so x1 comes in. Ratios 24/6 is 4. And 6/1 is 6, so the first row leaves, and the pivot is 6. Pivot once and the profit climbs to 20. But a -2/3 is still hiding under x2, so we are not finished. One more pivot on the second row, and every entry along the bottom turns non-negative. Stop. 3 and 1.5. For a profit of 21. Both slacks are 0, so both constraints bite, and their prices are 3/4 and 1/2. Did you get the same? Step back and the whole method is a short loop. Add slacks and start at the easy corner. Check the bottom row. If something is negative, the most negative one enters. The smallest ratio decides who leaves, and you pivot. Then round again. When nothing down there is negative anymore, you fall out of the loop, and the table hands you the plan, the leftovers, and the price of every constraint. But notice the assumption we slipped past. Every constraint was a less than or equal, which is why the origin was a legal place to start. Put a greater than or an equals in there, and the origin is out of bounds. Then you need a way to manufacture a starting corner, and that is exactly where we go next. Work at least 3 tableaus by hand before you trust any solver. Once the loop is in your fingers, it never leaves. See you in the next one.